Hey everybody, it's Nick with Comic Experience Sci-Fi. I'm in Sterling Heights, Michigan at the Astronomicon 2019, and I'm here with television legend Mr. Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster himself. Thank you so much for talking to us, sir.
My pleasure, Nick.
Okay, so you got to tell us, how, in the mid-'60s, the Munsters was not your typical sitcom. How did this project come about, and how did you become involved?
Well, you got to remember what the 60s were all about. Before the Munsters, I was doing a lot of acting, but we were doing things like Mr. Ed, My Favorite Martian, I Dream of Jeannie. So non-reality based shows were all the rage. Very funny stuff, a lot of comic actors, a lot of comic writers are out on the West Coast writing some awesome scripts, and the Munsters just happened to fall into that genre.
And so when you first heard about the Munsters, how was it sort of pitched to you?
My agent, I was living in Illinois, and they had actually cast it with another kid and another mom, and they decided that they wanted Yvonne DiCarlo. They changed the name from Phoebe to Lily, and then the kid they had, they weren't happy with him, so they flew me out from Illinois to L.A., and I didn't know anything about it until I got to the studio, and I looked at it, and I go, monsters? And, I had made all the models. I knew who they were, but I never thought I was going to be into production to a sitcom. And lo and behold, 2 years later, the show was made. I mean, it was on for 2 years. And 55 years later, it's still popular.
I still watch it myself very often. And so, but after the show ended its television run, you guys did a feature film, correct? In color, no less.
Yeah, they were thinking about doing a third season, but there were some issues with who was going to pay for it. So they decided to shelve the idea for a third season, but they did make a color movie, Munster Go Home, which then was a great hit. We had a lot of fun with the English actors, Terry Thomas, Hermione Gingold, and we didn't go to England, but it looked like we did.
And I'm sure you get asked this often, but Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, what were they like?
They were actually very similar to their characters. Fred was very reserved, very articulate, very intelligent guy, and Al was very vaudevillian and over-the-top, crazy and cantankerous, and the energy level for Al was through the roof. But together, they were a really great comedy team, and they complemented each other well. They were big stars from Car 54 before the Munsters, so they had this chemistry that worked really well as Herman and Grandpa.
And how did Yvonne DiCarlo fit into this mix?
Well, at first they thought that she wouldn't be a good choice because they thought she couldn't do comedy. And she turned out to be a wonderful choice. Very strong presence, star power to the show. And the fact that she was the matriarch and kept everybody in check was sort of a credit to her acting ability.
And in terms of makeup, how much of a hassle, or did you mind, or did Fred mind? Obviously, makeup was a big part of getting ready for the day's shooting.
Well, at first, the makeup didn't bother me at all. It was those damn little velvet shorts I hated. But I got accustomed to the whole thing, and it worked really well. And in time, we all grew to be quite a TV family. Plus, the makeup was only 3 days a week, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay, so where is the original Wolf prop?
He's hidden in Indiana. I had him for a while, and he deteriorated, and we had him restored. A private collector bought him, but I made a mold to where I have a Wolf as well, but mine has a armature skeleton in him, so he's posable. So the original is history, but I do have a Wolf doll. We've actually sold them to collectors. If you go to Munsters.com, you can check it out.
Okay, one more quick question. I remember as a kid the episode where they made a robot Eddie or a robot son, and Eddie was kind of mean to the robot, and I remember crying as a kid because I felt bad for the robot. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite episode or several favorites?
That particular one was called Tin Can Man, and
yes.
Boris the robot, and I got jealous of him because he was a grandpa. He was doing everything for grandpa, so it was like sibling rivalry. But my favorite episodes were Zombo with Louie Nye as the TV host that I thought was real. Hot Rod Herman, because I'm a gearhead, and we introduced the Dragula at the drag strip.
Yes.
And then, of course, Eddie's nickname, where I grew a beard, because every 10-year-old kid should have a full beard. Paul Lynde as Dr. Dudley was hilarious.
Thanks again, Butch, for talking to us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Nick.